Hi, Dave Kobilka here with another exciting episode of The Expanding Universe. Or, dude, it's like we're all living in a loaf of raisin bread. Last time we were graphing our high altitude balloon data using Microsoft Excel. We generated a graph, we cleaned up the data, we cleaned up the graph, and we produced something that looked like this. Here it is. Now, the purpose of this video is just to take you through the final step, which is copying this graph from Microsoft Excel and putting it on a Word page. The goal being is that you are going to do a write-up on your experience with the high altitude balloon, and you're going to want to show graphs in that write-up. You're going to want to show graphs that display what the measurements were that the balloon made as it flew through the atmosphere. Before I talk about that, you're also going to need to make another graph. There, if you recall, we go back to our original data page, and we made a graph of temperature versus elevation. Well, there's also pressure, and you're going to need to make a graph of pressure versus elevation. I don't need to show you how to do that. We've already done that. The steps are the same. You're just using different columns of data. But what you should get in the practice of doing is either before you generate the graph or shortly after, comparing determining what the expected outcome of your graph should be, at least to get a general idea. So, for example, after we made the temperature versus elevation graph, I said, well, let's look at a textbook version of that graph and see if it looks similar, to see if we got the right thing, if it graphed it correctly. So we looked at a graph of temperature versus elevation out of a textbook, and it clearly is very similar. We made a graph from the ground up to the top of the troposphere, and then this area, our graph shows this little area called the tropopause, and then it shows that the balloon flew well into the stratosphere before it burst. That's what our graph shows. Troposphere, tropopause, stratosphere. So, a graph of pressure versus elevation, atmospheric pressure, should look, kind of similar to what a textbook graph would look like. Here's one out of a textbook. Pressure versus elevation, where the pressure steadily decreases as you go higher and higher up. It never goes completely to zero, but it just gets lower and lower and lower. But you just get this smooth, like a smooth, steady curve. That's what you should see. So now, our final step is to take this graph out of Microsoft Excel and put it on a Word page. So here's how you do it. This is so easy you won't believe it. You simply put your cursor up in the kind of the outer part of the outer part of the graph, and then sorry, I was getting a little shook up because the phone was ringing. Took care of that. You right click, copy, and then we go to a blank Word page. There's one right here. I might put a title. And then, drop that down. Right click again and paste. Let's see what it looks like. Very nice. There's your graph. And again, just like before, you can resize it, stretch it out, make it fit your page, do whatever you want, but it's exactly the same graph that you generated in Microsoft Excel. You have it all formatted, so it looks nice, it's easy to interpret, and it's all ready to go. So there you go. You've completed the project. So this is Dave Kobilka, and I will see you again on the computer.